right. So now let's begin with emotion. What is emotional intelligence? And I will just very briefly go over it. So emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize and monitor own and others' feelings and emotions, and to use this information to guide one's thinking and actions. So I always, when I talk about emotional intelligence, it is we all have this ability, the first part of this definition. But really the key is in the second part, which is you understand that you have these emotions, but how do you use them? How do you use this information to guide your own thinking and the actions, right? So it's more about that part, and we got to be thinking about it. Now, since it is, all entrepreneurs, all of you entrepreneurs here, let me just share some statistics over here. So research says that these days EQ and not IQ is the top differentiator between high performance and average performance. And this is coming from the, a source, which is like the Gap and other important sources, where it is seen that emotional quotient or emotional intelligence is becoming the top differentiator between people who are performing and the average performers. Now, it all started, by the way, emotional intelligence. I'm sure all of you know that it started in 90s, and I'm going to come to it. When Daniel Goleman actually talked about emotional intelligence the first time. Emotions have been all through, we all know, but I think it wasn't such a big thing until 90s when Daniel Goleman first brought up a model. I will be talking about that very soon. Travis Badbury and James John Graves researched that about 90% of the top performers are people who have high IQ. Only 20% of the bottom performers have high IQ. He also adds to that in his book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0. Yeah. Now, another set of data is emotional quotient or emotional intelligence. The words are used interchangeably. Both are the same. Emotional quotient accounts for 58% of the success across many professions. 75% hiring managers said that they would hire someone with a high IQ EQ instead of high IQ. And it is becoming very, very predominant in the Western world. In India, we are taking it, but we are going, I think, slow. But in the Western world, and having worked in other countries, I can vouch for it, that there is a huge test that is given to people who are being hired now on the senior positions, where the emotional intelligence is a key differentiator, on the leadership positions. So 85% of the financial success depends on the skills related to EQ, which is all about negotiation, communication, leading, and only 15% is the technical knowledge required for financial success. Now, people do business with people they like and trust, even if the other person sells at a cheaper rate. We all know that. So it is about people, as I said in the beginning also, it is people with people. Business is all about people with people. So emotions play a very, very important role. Now, as Kanchan also was talking about this book, that since we were not conditioned beautifully very early on, we are limited with our vocabulary of emotions. तो हमने बच्चों को भी यही सीखा और हमें भी यही पता है, happy, sad, angry. In between, there are multiple emotions. Angry would be a very, very strong emotion, but just being upset or just being not feeling up to the mark, there are multiple emotions in between them. So intensity wise, when we talk about emotions, there are a lot of, there are about 300 plus words, which are, there when we have to come to emotions. And if I ask you today that put on a piece of pen and paper, write certain emotions. So happy emotions, and let's do it for quick 2 minutes. And let's write certain emotions that we know of, that some emotions that make you feel good and some emotions that make you feel uncomfortable. Just let's do a quick exercise here. How many do we know? I'm sure each one of you, might range from 3 to 5 at best, or even less. So let's just look at this. There are feelings when your needs are met, and there are feelings when your needs are not met. And there is just, this is also not the full vocabulary that I have, but here are some emotions when we're talking about calmness, that there are huge set of words: relaxed, serene, tranquil, peaceful, quiet, clear-headed, comfortable, all these. How often do we use them? Very few, very few. Similarly, when it comes to happy, amused, animated, delighted, joyful, pleased, glad, these are the words, right? Similarly, if we look at the unhappy emotions or sad, heavy-hearted, disappointed, discouraged, melancholy, depressed, gloomy, words like that. So all I mean to say is that there is a huge vocabulary, and I would actually insist that go on Google and actually find this chart. Find this chart for yourself. From inside out, it talks about less intense to a very high intense emotions. So if you look at the inside here, it is happy, and happy has about 6, 7, more than that, about 9 emotions that are shown here, which are less intense, intensity wise. And then when you go, it is further more multiplying, and then you can see so many emotions: aroused, cheeky, free, joyful, confident, respected. All these are there. So take this out somewhere and then keep it and increase your vocabulary so that you are better able to express your emotions next time when you feel it. What are you exactly feeling in your body? Is it just angry, or it's just feeling a little distant, or little critical, or little skeptical, or little numb? What is that feeling? Right? So recognize those feelings, because that becomes very important to express. And once you recognize, it is also the next process that you really sit with that emotion for a while before lashing out or reacting or um, expressing it. So we will come to that. Now, as I said, Daniel Goleman's EI model, what he talked about was very beautiful things, that he divided his it was a 2 by 2 matrix which he gave between self and other, and awareness and management. So if you look at the first yellow one, which is self-awareness, once you know about yourself, how many of us actually know ourselves very well? It is also a beautiful exercise that we do in coaching, that we got to be knowing ourselves not as just certain traits that we know, but how do we really feel? What are our strengths and weaknesses? What are the values that we stand by? What is that we can compromise on? What is that we have to live by? All of those things. So once you are self-aware, which is you are aware about your strengths, weaknesses, values, and your traits, is when you are aware. So that is the first quadrant. So people need to be first self-aware to be emotionally intelligent. Number 2 is manage yourself. Once you are aware of yourself, quadrant 2 in the red is when you can, knowing what you know about yourself, how do you manage yourself? How do you regulate the emotions that you feel? How do you manage them? Once you're aware, you are able to manage them also. And there's certain tools and techniques that allow you to do that. And one of the tools and tool and technique I'm going to be actually giving you after the end of the session, at the end of the session. Number 3 quadrant, which is the third one, is social awareness. So once you know about yourself and you're better able to manage yourself, it comes to then using this emotions, your emotions, and then understanding other people's emotions. Where is this person coming from? If this person looks upset, angry, happy, where is the root cause of it? Where is it coming from? So being aware of others' emotions as well. And then the last quadrant in blue, which is about relationship management, which is the core. So it only would be beautiful if we have actually navigated from first till 3, which is being self-aware, being able to manage oneself, and then being socially aware. Then only can you manage the relationships, whether it is in entrepreneurship, whether it is in the organization for leaders, whether it is for any position whatsoever. You've got to be understanding other people's emotions and then being able to make wonderful relationships around you, right? Now, Self-awareness, as we know, it is the ability of your own feelings in the moment, why they are there, and listening to yourself. Just, being in that pause moment. So like, for example, somebody, we all feel sad, bad, or happy when when our expectations are met or met, right? So imagine a situation when you are not feeling right and feeling little angry, upset, or not happy. So during that time, if you can just sit with yourself for a moment and listen to why is it happening, what is the genesis of this emotion, why did it happen in the first place, what expectation is not being met, and if it is not being met, where is the other person who was to meet your expectation coming from or might be thinking, right? So getting to know yourself really helps. What makes you feel tense, what gives you joy, listen to yourself, mind, body, and heart. So once you are self-aware, you know what things give you joy, what do not. Then we understand our triggers. Once we begin to understand our triggers very well, we tend to regulate those emotions. We tend to avoid certain triggers, and then also some of the triggers that can give you happiness, we tend to bring those moments in life. Like, for example, for some people, just going for a morning walk in the morning, right? Or having a cup of their choice of tea could be so gratifying that it generates very different sense of emotions in your beautiful emotions in your body. And then the next few steps that you will take will be basis the happiness that you've already created for yourself, right? Similarly, if you look at on the other side, you could develop or nurture the emotions that are there, which can start with starting with a little yell on the child. He's not getting up and you're not able to manage your emotions and you want the child to be getting up from the bed. At that point in time, you lose yourself. And then starting the day on that note, you know what happens to the rest of the day or for some hours in your life. So not being able to regulate your emotions and being insert, your body feels it, and then you got to be then managing. Self-management involves managing your emotions and the resulting reactions. What to say, what to think and do is going to be totally our choice. And we learn it by practice. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in days. It is over a period of time and consistent practice to be able to regulate your emotions. We all have emotions. We all know that we get angry, sad, happy at different points in time. But do we really know how to regulate them is a question. Have we been taught to do so? So let's begin from there. Like I talked about conditioning very early in the presentation, is जब छोटे होते हैं ना, तो बच्चों को जब बच्चा कोई भी बच्चे रोते हैं घर पे, it is annoying for the parents. You don't like it, and because you don't like it or the parents don't are not able to tolerate or their peace is disturbed, we don't allow the child to express the emotion. We don't allow the child to cry. उसको हम यही सिखाते रोने की बात नहीं है. या फिर the way our society is, लड़कों को बोला कि you are not supposed to cry. तुम तो लड़के हो, तुम क्यों cry कर रहे हो? You don't cry. So all those things, these are the conditioning that happens very early on with us, that we are conditioned not to express our emotions. And that is why a lot of the emotions, important ones, we don't know how to vent them out. And we keep on suppressing those emotions one over another. And then what we learn is that जब ये बहुत सारा इकट्ठा हो जाएगा, then this pile needs to be vented out. And then we don't know how to then process them. We lash it, we express it in a manner which is not so appropriate, right? So if from the very beginning, we actually acknowledge the emotions of the children and each other's emotions and allow them to express, okay, it's okay if you're crying, खिलौना टूट गया, तो the fix is not there that bring another toy. That's not the fix. Can we allow our child to say, I understand this is broken and how you're feeling? How many of us really talk to our children like that? What are you feeling at this point in time? Where is the misery coming from? Where is the sadness coming from? Is this about the toy? Or maybe it is just the lack of attention or the urge for attention from the father, from the mother. What is it? And sometimes when you talk to your children, it actually is not about the toy. It is not about the toy, believe me. And 70%, the statistics says 70% of the time when the children cry, it is not about the toy that they have broken or the thing that they have lost. It is about the lack of attention. It is the craving for more attention from a father who is extremely busy, from the mother who is busy into something else, fixing the house, dinner, other things, that the child is not getting the attention, is not able to express. It's about getting that attention, seeking that attention, right? So now, Viktor Frankl, when he was there in the camp, if you all have read a beautiful book, Man's Search for Meaning, it's just one of the amazing books that has changed my life like anything. And I would recommend this book. He talked about that this self-management that I just talked about, regulating your own emotions, right? Each time we have a choice. We have a choice what to do, and that comes with practice for sure. But between the stimulus, whatever triggers any emotion, and the response that you give, there is always a little space, a very little space. And there lies the freedom to choose. The freedom to choose whether do we want to respond or do we want to react? And I'm sure I don't have to tell you all that there is a huge difference between reaction and response, right? All of you know that reaction is without thinking, basically acting before thinking, and response is thinking before acting, right? But that also comes with practice. A lot of people amongst us know that we choose the second option first, which is we act before we think, right? Not many times we can maintain our calm. Now, the social awareness, the third quadrant, once we've understood our emotions, we get to understand other people's emotions better. Because once we are empathetic towards our own self, that it's okay to feel like that. It's okay to feel sad, happy, whatever we are feeling, right? Disgusted, or agitated or frustrated. Once we recognize and acknowledge our emotions, it's easy to empathize with others. So empathy is the cornerstone for social awareness, and it is our ability to recognize and respond to the needs of others. But that happens again after first and second quadrant is sort of mastered, right? Now, relationship management, I've talked about it. And the basic pillars of relationship management, they are respect, empathy, trust, presence, giving time, openness, freedom, right? So you got to be thinking and answering these questions to yourself. How do your emotions impact your relationships? I'm sure we all have spouses, we all have children, parents, in-laws with us. And we understand that how our emotions, the way we are able to handle or not handle them beautifully, is how our relationships around us. They tell us that how we are. And sometimes we choose. We choose कि इसके साथ हमको outside, because we cannot really express our emotions the way we express it at home. Sometimes we give more value to the relationships outside because it is, then again, entrepreneurship. It is about business. It is about your networking. It is about your work. We try to manage and respond, while at home we try to not manage them so well because there's certain amount of taking for granted. Thing that is there with our children, with our spouses, that we ये तो समझता है हमको, ये तो हमको समझता है. अब मैंने गुस्सा कर दिया, कोई बात नहीं, that person understand. But how many times we actually make that effort to create that trust, that respect, showing your own emotion and acknowledging the other person's emotion, that I understand what you're going through. I do understand what you're going through, right? With our spouses, I don't think many of us are trained to do that. We have seen our parents not acknowledging each other's emotions. And that's what, again, conditioning comes, that we feel it's okay to not acknowledge and move ahead because the other person is in this relationship and he got to understand us. Let's try for a change and begin to acknowledge other people's emotions also along with us, right? All right, now, when it comes to leadership or entrepreneurship, we all, as entrepreneurs, are leaders in our own way, right? It could be a single one-man business, or it could be multiple people working under you. It is all about these 4 dimensions, I believe, that make leaders succeed or entrepreneurs succeed. One is context, where you understand your industry and your unique position very well, and your competition. The other is the breadth of it, which is about, leaders are not somebody who are just worried about whether do I have to finish my work and do it beautifully, but they think at the breadth, cross-functionally, is everybody happy? Is everybody, are we managing this organization thinking about that this is, a cross-functional thing, and across functions, can I really lead it well, right? So it is about the breadth. The third is the choice. The choices that we make, it is always a challenge to make hard choices when it comes to entrepreneurship, right? Using the information that is available to us, combining it with our intuition, and then discretion of others can help the leaders make those great decisions. And the last and not the least is the connection. Now, all leaders, that they have amazing gravitas, and we have read so many books, and we've been following so many, influencers on TED Talks, YouTube, whatnot, right? These people are trustworthy, sincere, and authentic, and they actually value the relationships that, in a way, that they do not think who they needed something from, but they prioritize whose success could they contribute to, right? It is not about me. It is about how they as a leader can contribute to the success of the people working under them, people working for them, or people working with them, right? They go out of their way to invest in these relationships, and all of this is based on. So you will make those connections. If I go to the previous slide, the context comes from and understanding emotions very well. Breadth comes from there. Choice and connection. If you go deep down, I can't go deep down into these, but all of this comes from understanding your emotions very well, right? The important qualities of great leaders, you all know, first is about listening. Very, very empathetic and active listening, care, simple kindness, respect for all, humble and confidence, then empathy and vulnerability, generous to express gratitude to others for their work and support. One thing I would like to, the last point is very, very important, and I would like to bring it here, is that lot of emotions that we can tame, they come from this last point. Can we really express gratitude? Can we really do that? Starting the day on such a note, and in a lot of workshops that I do, where I talk about gratitude and, becoming your better self, it comes from really being grateful for very, very small things, not taking anything for granted, whether it is your spouse, whether it is your child, whether it is your house that you're living in. Can we be grateful? If we can grateful for the people, for the business that you're running, for the wealth and everything that you have built on a daily basis, we get into the doing mode all the time. Abhi aaj itna ka ho gaya, let me look at the business plan. Where do we need to go next? Where do we need to? It's all chasing, doing mode. Can we take a pause and really pat our backs and acknowledge our own feelings, emotions? Oh my God, there has been a lot of churning all through these years. Can I take a pause really and be so grateful for my own intelligence, for my own being able to handle myself better, for my own growth, for my own business that I have made? People who have supported me in this, right? My family, my friends, my network, people who are working for me, my employees. Have we taken that moment really and been thankful for that? So because lot of taming of emotions comes from once you're grateful for everything that you have in life, emotions just, they are so well tamed. And I'm not saying because of saying I've done it in my own life. And believe you me, if you can just devote 5 minutes in the morning, right? When you are up, just thinking about 5 things or 3 things from today onwards. And it's just an invitation, not a force to anybody, but an invitation to think about 2, 3 things that you can write or think and say it aloud to yourself. Oh my goodness, I'm so grateful. Just for yourself also. Sometimes just being grateful for yourself, right? So our brain works very differently when it comes to gratitude, right? Once we come into that gratitude, the kind of emotions that we feel and the day, as I said, following day, how you will take it, also depends upon what you have done in the first few hours of the day. And especially the first hour of the day. What you have done actually dictates, or most of the times governs, the next few hours and the rest of the day. So our brain can be trained. We all, I'm sure, are aware of the term called NLP, or neuro linguistic programming. It is a new science that is coming, and it is all about that they talk about that our brains are malleable and can be changed. Now, if we look at the anatomy of the brain, there are three types of brain: reptile brain, mammal brain, and angel brain, right? The reptile brain is the brain that gets activated very early on, as soon as you perceive threat, क्योंकि हमारा ancestors के साथ, this is coming from that our ancestors, were living in the caves, and all they heard was the sounds of the bear and the lion, and the brain only knew how to protect, only knew how to survive. So run, fight, or flight, that was the response. And that's how our ancestors and we have been evolving, right? So our brain primarily ऐसे ही काम करता है if we have not really worked on it, right? So we have usually anyone giving you a feedback, anybody telling you something, we take it as a threat. We cannot really be patient enough to really sit and reflect, where is it coming from, right? Or can this feedback be used as a good measure in our life so that I can improve? So we operate mostly from the reptile brain. Then there is a second brain, which is the mammal brain, which is called the emotional brain. ये हमारी seat होती है, which is where all our emotions, good and bad, anger, anxiety, love, curiosity, all of them reside, right? And the third is the angel brain, or here, which is called the prefrontal cortex, which is about problem solving, planning, or doing complex tasks, right? So what happens usually is, whenever there is an not meeting of expectation, or something where you feel threatened, or somebody giving you feedback, or somebody, you see somebody coming in competition as an entrepreneur, the immediate reaction is that your amygdala gets hijacked. Now, amygdala seat is right here, here, backside, which is the seat which gets hijacked, and it is emotional seat. And what it allows you to only do is come into the first, it activates your reptile brain. And all you can do is fight, come in the fight response or a flight response. Either run away from the situation or come in the fight, isko fight karna hai. And that's when you begin to react, right? In any small situation or big situation. You can sense all of that in your body, as Kanchan was explaining in book Emotional, right? What are those feelings? How can you sense? It is about you start to feel certain hot or cold in your body. हमारे को palms में समझ में आता है.
Want to know something funny about the Binance FTX relationship?
Say that again. No, it was not about that. Okay, so your heart starts to beat faster, and then it starts to sweat. You feel so breathing changes. You begin to gap, very fast breathing. There, all of these signs are there that tell you that something is not right for you, right? So at that point in time, instead of really coming and being susceptible or being just a prey to the amygdala hijack, can we sit, take a pause, and deep breathe? Deep breathe at that point in time. Take that, movies में भी देखा होगा ना कि मुट्ठी बंद करके 10 बार गिनो 1 to 10. That is all to let the time pass, to deep breathe, to let that cool down, to let that amygdala hijack just take its own pace and leave that hijack and really come into activate your prefrontal cortex, where this prefrontal cortex, where your emotions are not there, but you can rationally think. Why is it that I'm feeling this jealousy? Why is it that I'm feeling that anger? Is there a need? What are the consequences of that? Just deep breathing and allowing yourself to pause. It helps you reprogram your brain. And all this is the genesis and the basis of neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, a very, very new science, but a very interesting one. It fascinates me big time. All right. So why does EQ matter at the end of the day? We know that we can better manage our anger, better manage the conflicts. Different generations at work are there, and we know that who to talk to and how. Respect elders sometimes we know in our office city or in our entrepreneurship journey, we all must have come across people that sometimes the egos come in because of the age, because of the experiences, and we just cannot tolerate that sometimes. So, but understanding and taming your emotions allows you, or being more emotionally intelligent, being aware of your own emotions, allows you to actually respect those and see, okay, this is probably coming from there. It is not for shadowing me. It is just from the experience. So talking to yourself at that time, then making the decisions, important decisions in your life are coming from emotions, and we know how to tame them at that point in time. While commuting, we all know it becomes very important. You're going and then people rashly drive in the morning and your emotions go haywire, and sometimes accidents happen only because you want to give it back there in that moment. But in that moment, if we can just take a pause, deep breathe, it allow us help, calm down. Giving feedback also, it will be far better if we can give feedback, understanding our own emotions and understanding that the feedback is going to trigger a certain set of emotions in others. How can we better give it? How can we give it in a manner that it does have its effect, but not with a purpose to hurt anybody. Yeah. All right. So just quickly, I would like to end this presentation giving you a beautiful tool that I want to leave you with. This is Mark Brackett's model for higher EQ. Now, what he tells you is he gives this acronym RULER, where R is whenever we understand something has happened and that is triggering certain set of emotions, right? And when we take that pause, this is what we need to do. This is for that pause that I talked about, that before you react, just allow yourself, even for the emails, for goodness sake, yes, emails. We are always, in the hurry of hitting that reply button. We receive an email, reply immediately. Can we sit on those emails? Sometimes they come with certain set of emotions. You can sense that in the email, but we reply and the things go haywire, right? If we can sit with that email just for some time and then use this ruler model, it will also help us, regulating our emotions. So R is for recognizing your emotions in self and others. So in that moment, if you can recognize what is happening to you and where is this person coming from. Number two is you, which is understanding the causes and consequences of emotion. घर में होता है ना कि आप ये कोई जो गुस्सा एक बार अभी हुआ, that is not because the present situation. It could be pent up emotions, right? So understanding the other person that, okay, yes, certain things that have been done in the past, this is coming from there. What is the cause, right? Then labeling them. Label your emotions. Our own emotions, we can label them, right? Sometimes we tend to, किसी ने कुछ बोला और हमारे मन में चले जाता, oh my goodness, look at this judge. ये हमेशा मेरे ऊपर जजमेंट पास करता रहता है, ये हमेशा मेरे ऊपर जजमेंट पास करती रहती, राइट? इफ वी कैन begin to label our own emotions, saying that this is not the judgment that person is passing, it is the judge within me judging this person at this moment. Yeah, it is judging this person in this moment, that okay, this person is saying this because of whatever we think about him. So labeling those emotions help, and then you can talk to yourself in that mode. Oh my goodness, look at my judge rising, my judge, I can see it. So label your own emotions. Then the E is expressing your emotions appropriately. You know, once you have labeled them, you can express them appropriately, and then regulating these emotions effectively. Expressing is first and regulating is later. Expressing is not about you telling it, expressing it in your own head. What is this emotion? What do I do with that? And then regulating your emotions effectively, and then taking the decision to react. Now, of course, we know that in entrepreneurship, your network is your net worth. All these things that I talked about is coming from the emotions. And if we can regulate all of those, manage our own emotions, beautiful relationships we build, and beautiful relationships give you beautiful businesses further. I would leave you with this quote that Amit Ray said once. It is, as more and more artificial intelligence is entering into the world, the more and more emotional intelligence must enter into leadership. It must, because people will keep doing the businesses with people, and it is about your emotional intelligence that can take you very far when it comes to anything that you're doing. Anybody can reach out to me on this email ID, and this is my website and the LinkedIn. Do connect with me if you feel like, and I'll be more than happy to, I do a lot of keynote speeches, etc. And would always like to connect with you all. So happy to be of any assistance whatsoever. Thank you very much for listening and being such a patient audience.